everyone, so want to hear a funny story that's actually not so funny? I did this entire video and then realized that I never pressed record. So here I am again, gonna do this whole video again because yeah. Alright, so I don't know if you can hear that outside, but that is a paletero man that is walking by my house. But this video is one that I am very excited to make and that I've been planning to make for like a year, forever. I used to do book tags on this channel like all the time and I haven't done them in a while, not because I don't want to, just because I don't know. But I noticed a while back that book tags, they were all kind of similar. They all had different like themes, but it was kind of the same questions. It was kind of the same kind of deal when you would do them. So I thought of making up my own and putting a little twist on it and seeing if it would catch on. So let us just get right into it. This book tag is called The Goonies book tag. The Goonies, if you have or have not watched this amazing movie, 10 out of 10 recommend. You should go watch it, like right now, go watch it. This movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely my favorite 80s movie. I absolutely adore this movie. It's about a bunch of kids going to find a pirate ship to find some treasure, and it's just amazing. So like I said, I've seen a lot of tags that have gone around and they're kind of similar. You know, there's the question, you got to pick a book based off of that corresponds with that question. So I thought that I would do my Goonies version, but also here's the twist. So I'm going to list, or I'm going to discuss all of the questions, and you have to pick a book that, you know, corresponds with that question, just like a normal book tag. But then also you have to discuss a favorite within that book. So it could be your favorite character, it could be your favorite scene, OTP, chapter, element of the cover, element of the book, theme of the book. If it's a trilogy, your favorite book in that trilogy, your favorite cover. It could be a memory that you have associated with that book. It can be the place that you were reading when you were reading it. It could be the time you were reading it, when you were reading it, just anything. Something that is your favorite in regards to this book. So I felt like this would be a fun twist, and rather than just hearing a bunch of books, we could hear a little bit more detail into whoever decides to do this tag, and we can just know a little bit more about you in regards to the book that you're talking about. And I thought that it would be fun. So let us just get on into the questions. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I have 9. I have 9 because I couldn't come up with the 10th. So we're just gonna do 9. So the first one is, first you gotta do the truffle shuffle.
Your life! First you gotta do the truffle shuffle. Come on! Do it! Come on! Do it! Cut it out, Mom.
Now, this is a book that you didn't want to read until somebody forced you to read it. And for this one, I am choosing The Outsiders. I had to read this book when I was like in 5th grade. They forced us to read it. But they didn't like force us to read it, but it was like required reading for us. And this was a book that I would have like never picked up if I didn't have to. And I ended up loving it. And so something that is a favorite with that book, I really love the time period that it takes place in. I'm just really fascinated by that whole culture with like the greasers and all that with that in our history, and I just find it fascinating. And so that was one thing that I really liked in that book. Okay, so number 2, the next one is Hey You Guys. Hey You Guys. That was slightly embarrassing. Okay, a book that saved you, or a book that you learned a really valuable lesson from. And from this one, I chose Divergent. I just remember I got the first 2 books for Christmas because the 3rd book hadn't come out yet. So I got the first 2. I read them within like a week, which is crazy for me because I'm a slow reader. So I just really kind of learned a lot from Tris in that book, because she a lot of the things that she had trouble with within herself were a lot of things that I could relate to. Like she had trouble with both being selfish and selfless, and she learned that that you can be both, and that there can be a happy medium between the two. Because remember, she didn't want to change factions because of her family, but then she did because of that, whatever she was feeling inside of her. So that was something that she dealt with within herself, and I just related a lot to Tris's character, and I really loved her character, and I bawled like a baby at the end, which is something that we're not going to talk about. And so a favorite in Divergent, I will have to say, besides Tris, is 4, because I remember, I need to reread these books, because I remember just being absolutely in love with 4, and he was my OTP with myself. It's always been Jem from the Infernal Devices and 4 that I have loved, and that have always been my favorite male characters in like YA books. I just adore them. Alright, so the next one is Goonies Never Say Die. And
maybe Chunk already got to the police. Maybe Chunk is dead. Don't say that. Never say that. Goonies never say die.
This is a book where a character never gave up, and for this one I'm going to choose The Martian, a book that I read this year. I absolutely love that book. He is stuck on Mars and he has to wait forever to get rescued, and he never gives up. He goes through so many things and he's alone on this planet and he could die any minute, but he never gives up and he never even thinks about giving up, which I just found so admirable in this book. Sometimes I'm just like, hey, what would Mark Watney do in this situation? Because he would just not give up, and I just absolutely love that book. I have a whole very long discussion about that book because I absolutely loved it. And so a favorite with that book, I think I'm gonna have to say, is Mark Watney's sarcasm and his humor. That was just, mwah, it was amazing. Okay, so next I have Eyed Willy. This is a gem of a book that was really hard to find or really hard to get into, but once you did, you absolutely loved it. Or a book that once you read it, you were really happy that you did. For this one, I picked The Raven Boys. I've only read The Raven Boys. I haven't read the other three, but for this one, it was hard for me to get into it for a minute. I heard crazy good things about it, and I trusted people, and the first half of the book was really slow for me, and so I kept pushing through, but once I got past like the middle point, I loved it. The characters were amazing. The originality of the plot was amazing. I really loved it. I didn't stop reading it because I didn't like it. I got busy with other stuff for some reason. So I really need to read the last 3 books in that series, especially since the 4th one is already out and everybody went crazy over it. So a favorite for that one, I think I will say Rowan. I just really found his character interesting, and I really like his relationship with all of the other characters in the book. I'm always a sucker for those characters that seem very distant but are actually very lovable. Always a sucker for those kinds of characters, and so I really like that. Alright, so the next one is Rosalita.
Clark, we've got much more to do. You're so fluent in language. Es una casa de locos, por Dios.
And this is a favorite book that has like that 1 or 2 persons of color in them. In the Goonies, it's a mostly white cast. There's Data, who's the one Asian character, and then Rosalita, who is the Mexican. Well, I'm guessing she was Mexican in that movie. And for this one, I think I was writing up that part when I was reading Lady Midnight, so I'm picking Christina from Lady Midnight. I absolutely adored her character. My favorite character in Lady Midnight, and one of like my favorite characters in the entire Shadowhunter world. It was just awesome. I loved her character. She was just such a good friend. She was so funny, and such a good fighter. She was amazing. Like her and Diego, I really want to know more about that relationship. I really want to know more about Christina and Diego, and about what was the other brother's name. And a favorite from that book, I always think of that one line, I think that Christina says, and they're talking about the Avengers, and I don't remember what the actual line was, but I remember being like, yep, favorite character. I'll put what she said right here if I can remember. I'll look it up. But I remember reading that line, and I was just like, yup, favorite. The next one is This Is Our Time.
Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
A book where the characters went on a crazy adventure. So I didn't really pick one for this one, so I'm kind of looking around to see what to choose. Okay, for this one, I'm going to go with Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. This is another one where I only read the first book. I have all 3. Haven't read them yet. I read the first one when it was published 5 years ago when I was a sophomore in high school. I had to do a book report, so obviously the nerd in me got very excited. So I went to Borders because that was still open, and I found Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Read it, loved it, loved it. The kids in that one don't necessarily go on an adventure where it's like, let's go on an adventure. Like they're kind of forced to go on this journey. It's still a crazy journey. And so I went to go watch the movie recently, like a couple days ago, Sunday, right? And it was amazing. A lot changed, but Ransom Riggs told us that a lot was going to be changed. Tim Burton is amazing, so like obviously it was going to be good. The hollows in that movie were crazy. I think that's gonna be my favorite. The hollows in the movie. I know it's not necessarily the book, but how the hollows looked in the movie was crazy. The special effects, like, it was so cool. They looked so cool, and it was actually slightly terrifying. And I was sitting next to my brother because he read the book also, and I'm just like, that's so nasty. Okay, but yeah, so the next one is Out of Style. That line that Brandon says, Mikey's brother. He's like, I'm gonna hit you so hard that when you wake up, your clothes are gonna be out of style.
I'm gonna hit you so hard when you wake up, your clothes are gonna be out of style.
So, for this one, this is a character with great fashion. And for this one, obviously, none other than Magnus Bane. And do I even need to say a favorite with Magnus Bane? Everything about Magnus Bane is my favorite. I think that's enough said. Oh my god, but side note, have you guys seen the pictures that they've released? The one with Malik, where Magnus has his hand over Alec. New York Comic Con is this weekend. We're gonna get footage. I'm gonna do a video. It's gonna be great. Oh, I am so excited. Season 2 looks like it's going to be amazing. So much better than Season 1. And y'all know what I thought about Season 1. I loved it. So it's gonna be even better. What? I am so excited. I am so the Shadowhunters. It's coming back, and I am so ready to do videos about that. It's been too long. Okay, so next one, number 8, is the Fratellis, and it is a book where you couldn't help but love the villain. Okay, for this one, I think I am going to go with the series of Unfortunate Events series with Olaf. I have not read those books in forever, and I just remember with the movie that Olaf was actually kind of hysterical. So despite him being the villain, he was also just a really fascinating character within himself. And they're also coming out with the Netflix TV show of the series of Unfortunate Events, and I am freaking out. I've mentioned this so many times, like Harry Potter and the series of Unfortunate Events, my favorite childhood books of all of time and eternity. And so the movie, I know a lot of people really didn't like the movie. I'm not a person that gets super nitpicky with movies, and it was like, no, it has to be this, this, and that. I enjoyed it. I still like it. I think I still have it. And I'm a little bit more kind of nitpicky now because I just remember being a kid and being like, a movie based off of this book that I read? What? And so I would go watch it and then I would love it. And so I remembered loving it, and I think I still do love it. But yeah, they're going to make the TV show about it, and it's gonna be amazing, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So I think a favorite of those books, one thing, the ending. I will say the ending because Lemony Snicket said in the beginning, this is not going to have a happy ending. This is not a happy story. And so the ending, it was kind of like bittersweet. It was happy, but it wasn't at the same time. And so that was something that I really loved, especially since it was like a children's book. I really enjoyed that. I even remember being a kid and just be like, okay, I'll accept it. I will take it, Lemony Snicket. Okay, so last but not least is Cyndi Lauper's The Goonies Are Good Enough. You know? The song. So this is a book where music was a really big part of the story or the characters' lives. And for this one, I chose the If I Stay duology. The If I Stay duology was one of the, I think it was the very first couple of books that I reviewed on this channel 2 years ago, and I just remember really, really loving those books. I loved Where She Went way more than If I Stay, but I just ate those books up. And if you've read those books, or if you haven't, the music is a really big part of the characters' lives in those books. They come together, and they're both really different, but they both really love music, different kinds of music, but they both really love music, and so that's like a really big part of their relationship, a really big part of the story, a really big part of the overall theme, really. Like I said, I really did love Where She Went a lot more than If I Stay. I loved If I Stay, the movie. There were a couple things in the movie that I really liked more than the book, which doesn't happen too often, like a few details. And one of my favorites from that thing, I think I'm going to say my favorite book out of the duology is Where She Went, so that's my favorite. I really like Where She Went a lot more. That is the end of the Goonies book tag. I hope that you liked it. I hope that you liked it and that maybe you want to do it. If you haven't seen the Goonies and you have no idea what I'm talking about, definitely go and watch that movie. It's one of my favorites. I love it so much. So entertaining, so funny, so great. Yeah, definitely let me know if you do this tag. That would be awesome if you do it too. I did the Walking Dead tag like 2 years ago, and a few people did it, which was awesome. But also, I watch so much TV and I watch so many movies. So if you would like me to do like another tag, to come up with another tag on like a movie or a TV show or something, let me know. That would be really fun. Oh, I just saw flowers. I can do one based on flowers. So many ideas are just going through my head now. But yeah, any comments down below. If you do this, let me know. If you plan on doing it, let me know. Any comments down below. I never say to like or subscribe because I figure that if you like this, that you will do it on your own. I don't need to tell you. But definitely comment down below. I respond to everybody's comments, you know, besides the haters. But I respond to everybody, so please feel free to comment. But yeah, I think that is it for this video. This was super fun. I have been planning on doing this video forever, and so finally I have done it. But yeah, like I said, please leave any comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!